Hi, good morning. So now we are going to see real-time manual testing interview questions, part 3. What is software testing lifecycle? What is software testing lifecycle? So STLC, system testing lifecycle or software testing lifecycle also we are going to call. It describes end-to-end activities performed by separate testing team to accomplish testing activities for a project. It describes end-to-end activities performed by a separate testing team to accomplish testing activities for a project. Whereas the software testing lifecycle is one of the activity comes under software development lifecycle. Like if you see that in software development lifecycle, we have the various phases. What are the phases we have? Requirements collection. Yes, requirements collection, requirements analysis, design, coding, testing, deployment, and maintenance. Right. But if you go for testing here, we have the three levels here: unit testing, integration testing, unit testing, and integration testing, system testing, then user acceptance testing. But system testing, separate team is going to perform. To do system testing, some process required. That process is explained by the software testing lifecycle. That is software testing lifecycle. So that's what I said here. Whereas STLC is one of the activity in software development lifecycle. In entire the software development lifecycle, majority of the activities are performed by separate testing team. That means 40% of activities are performed by separate testing team. Right. The STLC describes end-to-end activities performed by separate testing team to accomplish testing activities for a project. Whereas software testing lifecycle is one of the activities in SDLC. Various phases involved in the software testing lifecycle, those are test initiation, test planning, test case design, test execution, defect reporting and defect tracking, test closure. So the six phases involved in the software testing lifecycle. So explain the difference between test strategy document to test plan document. Generally, test initiation phase, test strategy document prepared. Test planning phase, test plan document is prepared. So test manager who is responsible to prepare the test strategy document. Test lead, he is responsible to prepare the test plan document. Okay. Now understand the difference. Test strategy is a high level document which describes the way of testing is carried out for your project as per your organization. In my company, how the testing approach is going to be described by the test strategy. Test plan. A test plan is derived from software requirement specifications, describes in details the scope of testing and different activities performed in testing. So that means here, test strategy describe the brief description about the testing approach, available resources, and the standards to be followed with respect to organization. Test strategy document describe the testing approach, available resources, and standards to be followed with respect to organization. Test plan, which describe the detailed testing approach, scope, so testing techniques which we are going to use. Based on the current release of the application, test plan is going to be prepared. As a reason, test strategy is in organization level. Based on that company, the approach they are going to describe. A test plan is project level. It describes the high-level test design techniques to be used, environment specifications, that means which tools are available in their company, that information. For defect reporting, functional testing, about their company information is going to. It describes the whole testing activities in details, the techniques used, schedule, resources, etc. Whereas generally, test strategy document prepared by project manager or test manager. Whereas it is prepared by test lead, majority of the cases. Some cases, test manager is responsible for this. The major components of test strategy includes scope, objective, business issues, risk, testing approaches, like this. The major components of test plan includes test plan ID, test environment, features to be tested, entry and exit criteria, type of testing, risk and mitigations, etc. But main one point to remember, it is organization specific document. It is current project release based test plan is going to be prepared. Information test strategy will be uniform throughout the project. That's why test strategy we call as static document. Each release, the planning is going to be changes in the test plan. That's why test plan document is dynamic document we are going to represent. Another question, important question to this point of view, explain what are the components in test plan document. So from here, at least 3 to 5 questions we can expect from the test plan components. Okay. Now see, test plan describe the scope, approach, resources, and schedule of testing activities. It defines the test items, the features to be tested, the testing task, required test environment, who are responsible and any risk and mitigations. These things are what describes how the components are going to. If they ask the component, these things are not required. Just for understandability, I give what is test plan means. This portion you have to say from here to here. You have to explain what is test plan means. Then what are the components? This only have to explain what are the components are the title. Then which project related test plan document it is. Then history of the test plan document, which describe that. So, who prepared the document? When the document is prepared, reviewed by, so approved by, that kind of information are going to find in test plan document. The third component, introduction, which have the four subcomponents. Project overview. So that means here, brief description about the project, purpose of test plan, the objective of test plan, why he prepared test plan document, that information. Referred documents, that means which documents are referred to prepare the test plan document. Scope, that means what type of testing activities are possible to perform under current test plan, what type of testing activities are not covered under test plan in terms of in scope, out of scope. There are features to be tested, that means modules and requirements which are available in the current release of the application to go for testing. Features not to be tested, which modules or requirements are not available to go for testing under current test plan. Then entry and exit criteria. The entry criteria describe that when we can start test cases execution. Exit criteria describe that when we can stop the test execution for the project. That's the entry and exit criteria. So suspension and resumption criteria, temporary when we can stop execution and when we can continue that information. Testing approach, test environment, roles and responsibilities, schedule, risk and mitigations, test deliverables. Why I am not explaining much detail way about this test plan components means already you have already you watched manual testing tutorial which I provided there means on test plan document more than 30 minutes I explained. Again, I'm not repeating here. But just I'm saying that what are the components are there. For reference purpose, you can go for the software testing life cycle. So test plan in the test plan document about test planning phase, more detail where I explained it. Next thing, what are the responsibilities for you in your company as a test engineer? What are the responsibilities of test engineer in your current company? What you do? So our responsibilities are review of the requirement documents, identifying test scenarios, preparing test cases and test data, testing the software as per customer requirements, reporting defects and track the defects, perform regression and retesting, conducting system testing, conducting peer reviews, reporting the status to test lead. These are the major activities which are going to perform. So when you are saying about this thing, no, you should know about the what is test scenario, what is test case, what is test data. So reporting defects, how we can do that, what is retesting, regression testing, what is system testing, what is peer review, these things. So this already I explained the manual testing. So sessions. Just here interview point of this is the answers you have to give. Then what is your approach to write test cases? Whenever you want to write the test cases, first tester should know about the application functionalities. For the purpose, we have to study the requirement documents or use case document we are going to study. The use case is optional. Then prepare test scenarios. Based on the scenarios, we have to develop the test cases for those scenarios. This is the approach generally we follow to write the test cases. You have to say it is. What is the difference among the use case, test scenario, and test cases? Another important question it is use case. Use case describes functional behavior from user's point of view. That means how system need to work. That information will be given in use case document. So are you going to expect the use case document for every project? Means no. Generally, requirement documents, BRS, FRS, when those are not clear, then only they are going to provide the use case. Use case different, user story is different. In agile methodology, user stories, use case it is. So when requirements are not clear to understand, then they are going to provide the use cases for us. So use case when you read, you can able to know it how user expecting the system need to work. Suppose customer registration form is there, how it has to work. That information we can know when you read the use case document. So then test scenario. It will describe the test condition or requirements which we need to validate. Sima, it describes test condition or requirements which we need to validate. That means which we need to test. The test case, it describes the validation procedure of a specific requirement in application. That means when you see test case, you can know it how to test the particular functionality in application. If you read the scenario, you can know that what we have to test in the application. If you read the use case, you can understand that how system need to work. The relation will be like this. Based on the use case, we can identify the possible number of test scenarios we can identify first. So test scenario 1, test scenario 2, test scenario 3. Right. Whereas the scenario can have the one or more test cases. This is the hierarchy. Test case 3. Other more test cases like this. From the use case, we can able to identify the scenarios. From the scenarios, you can able to identify the possible number of test cases need to be drafted. There's a reason test scenarios will help us to identify how many test cases are required, so that we can able to understand that, and also we can provide the complete test cases coverage. The advantage of the scenarios, if they ask that, we can say like this: test scenarios will help us to know that possible number of test cases need to be drafted, and also with help of test scenarios we can give the complete test cases coverage. Right. How do you deal when requirements are not clear? If requirements are not clear, so how, what is the approach you to understand that without have the requirements knowledge we can't go for testing. First you have to get the as much of information available from your other team members. You have to collect this. So I will go into coordinate with the business analyst as much as I can. I will check with subject matter expert. Subject matter expert SME means are domain expert and business teams to understand logics of their business. So I will document everything myself, whatever I understood, and get them reviewed by business team. Along with this, I will provide the feedback to my manager and get these gaps filled for next release. This is the approach which I am going to follow. So what is exhaustive testing and optimal testing? Exhaustive testing means validating application with all possible combinations is called exhaustive testing. So exhaust testing is impractical and impossible. So why it is impossible? It's more expensive than development cost and time consuming. That's the reason we go for optimal testing. What is that optimal testing? Validating application with the best possible combinations is called optimal testing. Validating application with the best possible combinations is called optimal testing. In the present scenario, we prefer optimal testing only. In a present scenario, we prefer optimal testing only. Next, another important question. What are the software testing principles? So again, here I am giving the only what are the principles are there. About this principles explanation, I provided complete notes in the record manual testing portion. Okay. Advantage of software testing principle: uniform among all the test engineers to get the uniform consistency, great output to get from the testing team. This software testing principles are given. So what are the software testing principles? Seven principles are there. Exhaustive testing is impossible. Early testing, defect clustering, pesticide paradox, testing is context dependent, absence of error fallacy, show presence of errors. These are the software testing principles. Exhaust testing is impossible. Early testing, defect clustering, pesticide paradox, testing is context dependent, absence of errors fallacy, show presence of error. These are the seven software testing principles are there. When do you think testing activity should start in software development process? Why it is? So testing activities always should start early stages with development activities. It can be example, review on requirement documents. Even though we are not going to the review on requirement document to identify the mistakes, someone has to go for this kind of review. That is, so advantage here, early stages identified defects will take less cost to resolve those defects compared to later stages identified defects. Early stage identified defects will take less cost to resolve those defects compared to later stages identified defects. Can test engineer identify mistakes in requirements? No, you are not the responsible to identify the mistakes in the requirement documents. You are the responsible to identify the mismatches between what developer is implementing the application to your requirements. The answer. No, test not responsible to identify mistakes in requirements. What are the test case design techniques? Why we use? Why we have to use? Or which techniques you follow to write test cases? In general, separate testing team will use black box testing techniques to derive test cases. Why black box testing techniques? To derive the optimal test cases to achieve the completeness of testing. We go for optimal test case purpose black box testing techniques. So what are those boundary by analysis? Equivalence class partition or equivalence partition, error guessing, decision table or cause effective table, state transition coverage. So the techniques are used by the test engineer. Thank you. Please subscribe my channel Madhukar QIT. That's my WhatsApp number. For any reference, just give the text to me in that. If you want to learn course also, you can text me 9848 761579. Thank you.